This is a Brawl Network production.
Winning has a price, and leadership has a price. I challenge people when they don't want to be challenged, and I earned that right.
You're listening to the Bulls Brawl Podcast.
So I thought to myself, well, I guess I got to bail Michael out again.
He's the president of the Arturas Karnisovas Fan Club, and he's your host. Here's Ross.
Welcome to the Bulls Brawl. I'm Kate the Great, and I'm joined by your Chicago crew. We got Dan Goodwin, and we've got our Commander-in-Chief, President of the Arturas Karnisovas Fan Club. He lets us call him Ross. Welcome, fellas. It's good to be here with you. It's the first time as Bulls fans we have been able to be excited in a long time, because I'm just going to take us through a little brief history of what happened in case you guys haven't been paying attention, which you have. But we had Garpax is gone. We got Arturas Karnisovas is the GM. He's going to take us back to greatness. We got Billy Donovan hired as the head coach. We got so much going on right now, and we just had our first scrimmage today. Ross, you watched that scrimmage. What happened? What were the show outs from it? What did you take away from the scrimmage today?
So I think I saw what I wanted to see, which was a lot of Coby White and Zach LaVine, the backcourt of the future. Coby White had a couple game winners in a couple of the scrimmages. Zach LaVine was playing defense. There was a point where he was posting up against Lauri Markkanen, stole the ball from him, drove down the court, and hit a transition three. Like, I saw some really, really encouraging things. Now, obviously, you take the caveat of this is a random bubble scrimmage in the middle of the offseason for the Bulls, but I think it's encouraging that they look engaged, they look happy, they look like they're having fun, and that's just such a nice change of pace from what we've seen recently.
Yeah, it's been hard to see that team. That team wasn't having fun last season. Was part of the problem. You saw Zach LaVine on the bench going off at Jim Boylen. This is another thing I didn't even mention. We got rid of Jim Boylen. Thank God. Yep. That was a error of a year for us. Dan, did you catch any of the highlights of the scrimmage? What players are you excited to see this upcoming season?
Well, I'm definitely excited to see Zach. Right, I'm excited to see Zach because, you look at Zach's numbers from last year. He had 25 points a game, and that's with Boylen as a coach. Bothering and causing drama and benching him from time to time and all of that type of stuff. So you get to see him, and then you also get to see Coby White, which I think he was hindered dramatically by the coach last year. I mean, He really didn't want to put him in the ball games almost, you might say. So, I'm looking forward to see the backcourt. And I'm also looking forward to seeing Daniel Gafford. A lot of people sleep on him. I think he is a talented guy, and he's athletic. And I like that at the center position because he's going to affect the game in different ways than other people can. So whether he's coming off the bench or starting the game, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And then, of course, Lauri Markkanen, if he can get back to, what he was doing previously in his rookie year and things like that, then I think the Bulls will be looking real good. And it's nice to see game winners from Coby White. I mean, he's a stud in my opinion, man. I think he's going to step forward this year. I really do think so.
The thing about Coby White to me is that he just seems like he has such a positive energy about him. He got onto the team. He was excited about it. Everyone knew that, writing was on the wall for Bulls season when, we were excited to get Coby. We thought, we're optimistic and everything, but no one thought that Jim Boylen was really good. I mean, we were optimistic. I don't know. We were optimistic. But once we got halfway through that season, at the very least, we're like, all right, Jim Boylen does not know how to use these players. And that's the biggest thing I think that we saw with Lauri Markkanen is that he's just being misused. And so it will be interesting to see what Billy Donovan does with him. He's obviously a coach with some experience and, battle tested. So Ross, what did you think about the Billy Donovan hire? We haven't, obviously this is our first time recording Bulls Brawl. We have the opportunity now to break down all of this chaos that just went on in our organization.
Yeah. I think Billy Donovan and we've had some time to now think about it. Like you said, it's been a little bit since the hiring. I think Billy Donovan is the right coach at the right time right now. I think for a while, there were a lot of fans who were looking at some of those up and coming assistant coaches. And while that, that's always a good option to get one of those up and coming assistant coaches that could be your coach for the long term, you can develop together. I just think right now the Bulls really need that veteran presence that Billy Donovan brought in. And let's not forget, like, it's not like he got fired for doing poorly. The Thunder were coming off one of maybe his best season as a head coach. And bringing that team that everyone thought was going to be, rebuilding, trading away assets, and took them to the playoffs and almost took down the Rockets. So, I mean, I think this is a really good hire for a young up and coming team, because on paper, the Bulls really don't have that bad of a roster. Like you said with Boylan, he just wasn't the coach for these guys. So I think it's an exciting time for Billy Donovan and for these guys.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, it's exciting, and like you just said, Boylan just wasn't the coach for these players, and Billy Donovan, it was like you're just seeing all these fresh faces, and Zach LaVine was like the most veteran player on the team, and that's not really someone you think NBA veteran. You don't think Zach LaVine. So it was just like all these young people trying to flounder around and figure out how to do it. It's almost like you feel bad for Jim Boylan because he didn't have someone who could, we're all Chicago fans, so I can point out Nick Foles. He just got out there in the game the other day and just started pointing at people. He's like, you go do that, you go do that. He's telling Matt Nagy how he's going to run the team. And I'm not saying that a head coach should have a player telling him how to do it, but just he was brand new to it, and so are all his players. And so it was just very disorganized. I think it'll be interesting to see if Billy Donovan can bring some peace to the equation, identify those strengths, throw together something good. I'll be curious to see what happens with the Bulls roster, because like I've been pitching for a while now, I want us to be as delusional as possible. I want to see someone crazy come to Chicago. I know AD said he's staying with the Lakers, but he said he plans to. So to me, nothing's done until it's done. Dan, what do you want to see happen roster-wise on this Bulls team?
Roster-wise, you want me to go negative first or positive? Let me start with the negative. What I want to see first done is for Felicio to be gone.
Get him out of there.
Just please let him go. I think they're going to have to get rid of Luke Cornett as well. Let him go. It's probably going to be about 3 or 4 cuts that they really have to do. And then when you're talking about signing some free agents, 2 that I like, that I think would work well and could also help the young centers that we have on our team. Number 1, Andre Drummond. That's 17.15 rebounds every game. You know what I mean? It's hard to pass that up when it's sitting out there in free agency possibly. And then you also have Hassan Whiteside. Whiteside, that's a shaky one. That's an iffy one. And that's because it seems like he only plays good during a contract season, right? When he's playing for a contract, he balls out, right? But, we'll see what happens with him. I don't know. But I think those are 2 guys you can plug in at the center, and you're going to get defensive help. You're going to get massive rebounding. And you're going to get a little bit of point production there. But for the most part, they'll be able to teach those younger guys like Wendell Carter, who's, 21, 22, how to really play the center position.
Yeah.
I said as delusional as possible. We've got a number 4 pick. We've got some money in the bank. We've got some stuff that we could play with here. Yeah. I'm thinking that we're going to get probably, and this is conservatively, at the minimum, I would say we'll probably end up with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, and Kawhi Leonard.
Wow.
So
yeah. Let's push it then. Let's push that.
Why not?
Number
4 overall. This is a great draft to trade up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Number 4. That's worth at least 2.5 Kawhis and a LeBron.
Absolutely.
So while we're on roster moves, I think everyone agrees Felicio's got to go. Ross, is there anyone else you're like, get him out of here? He's poison. Cut it out. We're starting fresh.
I don't know if I'm that negative about this guy, but I do think we have a nice little trade bait with Otto Porter Jr., who's on an expiring contract, who's not a bad player. He's been hurt, so we obviously need him to stay healthy and hopefully have a good start to the season. But that's the kind of guy I could see getting moved at the trade deadline, and maybe we could get some assets back from a contending team who just needs some help. So I'm not like running him out of town necessarily. It's just like he's going to walk anyway, so let's get something for him.
What do you think about Thad Young?
I don't know who's going to trade for that contract. Same thing with Sato. I don't think anyone wants those contracts right now. Felicio and Otto Porter Jr. are both on expirings, so I think there's a little more value there. And they might just have to bite the bullet with Felicio and just cut him. But Sato and Thad, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Thad earlier in his career was a better player. So maybe that's just the cloud of Jim Boylan last year that was making everything weird. Maybe he has more value than we realize. Same thing with Sato. Before they signed him, he was a decent player. So we'll see what Billy Donovan can do. I'm hoping for the best. As far as free agents, I really like Jeremy Grant. We kind of need that wing guy who maybe in a small ball lineup could slide to the 4. I really like him. He has the connection with Arturas and with Billy Donovan, played with Billy Donovan with the Thunder, and then Arturas acquired him when he was the GM in Denver. So there's history there. I could see that being a target in the offseason.
You're saying it and it makes sense, and it's playing to the logical side of my brain. Now, obviously with the Bulls, I'm being as illogical as possible. So I hear Billy Donovan, my very first thought was Joakim Noah. And I was like, get him back. Yeah. I don't even care. He could be washed and I wouldn't even care. And I don't think he totally, you've been seeing players who you're like, oh, that guy's washed. And then he goes and you see Dwight Howard and get a championship ring. And you're like, okay, never mind, not washed. So I think Joakim Noah could be that guy. And he's got so much respect for Billy Donovan. They're together in Florida and everything. They obviously haven't played, obviously Joakim hasn't spent time in OKC and wasn't on that team that Billy had that really was looking like they could contend. I think that's Chicago fans' biggest fear, though, is that we're all excited. We got Billy Donovan and we've got some ability to make some moves, especially since they got that number 4 draft pick, which I still think the draft lottery is extremely rigged because number 4 isn't doing that much for us. I mean, it's doing something, but it moves the needle more than a 7th, but
it's better than 7.
We were stuck. We were right there in that number 7 ceiling. We couldn't get past it.
I know.
But anyways, I think cautious optimism is for the weak-minded, and I'm ready to hear. I'm ready to get hurt again.
We'll sign Jeremy Grant after we sign Anthony Davis. That's what I was getting at. Let me finish.
I thought that was what you might mean. I just wanted to clarify. Yeah. So we are definitely getting AD. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was a given. I thought that was obvious. Yeah, we're getting him. It's happening.
He's just saying this Lakers nonsense to try to, appease the masses so that there's not riots in front of his house.
Yeah, he's riding the good vibes after winning the ring. I get it, but he's gonna come home. He's gonna bring the hardware back to Chicago.
Exactly. I'm glad we're all agreed.
No one can't be mad at that either because he did it, right?
Exactly.
So,
same thing.
Yeah.
And they might just go ahead and get Zion up there, trade that number 4 pick. It's worth a Zion and a half. I don't know. Joel Embiid, he could be headed to Chicago. I
could see that. I could see Joel Embiid wanting a trade.
It'll be a pretty stacked roster. You could definitely see Joel Embiid wanting a trade. I think he already said it too, didn't he? Something. Yeah. I don't know. Vic Oladipo said he wants out of Indiana, so I'll take him too. There is room.
Hey, Bradley Beal too. Everybody, come on, jump on the bandwagon.
Man.
Okay, that's legitimate though.
Yeah, there's some truth to Bradley Beal. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I would be curious to see. That man gets no respect. He does not get the respect he deserves. He got snubbed in should have been at least NBA 3rd team, something like that, and he wasn't even on there. But so anyways, those are the roster moves we got going on. So let's say we've got a decent roster or whatever. So if this season goes well, let's say we make a decent playoff run. Like I said, I'm being delusional. Let's say we get a championship, something like that. So who are we giving the credit to for this season? Ross, I feel like I know where you're going to go with this, considering who and what you are to the world right now. But do you think that the credit's going to go to Jerry Reinsdorf or to Arturas Karnisovas for the Bulls' victory? Or, if they have, if they bust, is it the blame going there? Where's it going?
So I saw an interesting tweet the other day that was like, here are the moves that Jerry Reinsdorf has made this offseason, and, listed all the things the Bulls have done. Hired Arturas, hired Mark Eversley, fired Jim Boylan, hired Billy Donovan, all that stuff. And I was reading it and I'm like, I'm pretty sure the list ends at hired Arturas Karnisovas. Because after that, it's all AK. It's AK all the way down. So I think Jerry deserves a little bit of credit for, and Michael Reinsdorf as well, for realizing this isn't working. We need to make a change, which thank God you should have done that 5-10 years ago, but all right. It's now or never. Let's make the change. But at this point, I'm not expecting this team to win the finals this year. As much as I might say it realistically, I think this is a rebuilding year still. The second year is going to be a little more telling for what the future might hold for Arturas and Mark Eversley. But I mean, I'm down to just say any success is on them and any failures are on Jerry and Michael Reinsdorf, because that's just the easy way out.
And Dan, what do you want to say? You want to give credit to Jerry? I mean, the man they had the last dance happen and everyone was like out for his head.
Well, I'm still out for his head, so I don't think it's the easy way out. I think it's the only way out. I think it's fact. I'm just going to be real about it. Jerry Reinsdorf should have made this move. He should have done something a long time ago, right? I don't think he's the one that pulled in the Billy Donovan or even Eversley. I don't think he did that. I think that's AK all the way. And I believe that Jerry Reinsdorf, he's handicapped Chicago in many ways, the whole franchise. He's handicapped them when it comes to hiring Fred Hoiberg. That was the number one problem. And then you stuck with that situation and that experiment for so long. And then you put in another guy, Boylan. I mean, I wondered how he even got the job, to be honest with you. So, I think he deserves all the blame. I think he deserves no credit, and I'll give all the credit to AK, 100%.
You are driving a really hard line there. You're like, yeah, he did it finally. And even if they are really good, it's not because anything he did. It's because of Artur. And I mean, obviously, we've got no one's going to make a case for Jerry Reinsdorf right now. I'm Lithuanian. Ross is the president of the AK fan club. You were the only chance that Jerry had. So I guess it's all out the window. I guess we've spoken for Chicago as a whole right now. Jerry, we're kind of over your shit.
You can't be cheap in the third largest market in the United States. You can't be cheap. Chicago. Open up the wallet, Jerry.
And, what Dan was saying was kind of making me think about, because he said, started with Hoiberg. Well, obviously, it does go back further than that. So we're going way back right now. We had our Jordan championships and Jordan's leaving and there's bad blood. It was just, this is the last dance. They had fired Phil Jackson ahead of time. Jordan's going, whatever. Do you think there was more honor in doing it that way rather than, fizzling out, kind of like a Golden State situation where they ended up getting beat in the finals? Or do you think it would have been better to at least try to preserve some of those pieces? Personally, this might be a hot take, I don't know, but I think there is more. It's better for our legacy or our feelings as Chicagoans that we had it and then it was just going to be gone. There was no chance that we were going to keep going, keep trying, or potentially fail. Where do you guys fall on that? I'll let either of you take that one.
Ross, I'll go right quick. I'm gonna say I understand where you're coming from. I understand your viewpoint on it, but you play pickup basketball. If you ever play pickup basketball, I'm not getting off the court until somebody beats me. Period. So Jordan, Scotty, they were winning. And it wasn't hard, right? They didn't go 7 games and that's it. I mean, they win 7 games against Indiana, but not in the finals, right? They were doing their thing. I think Jordan was still, in that last year, what did he win? MVP, All-Star Game MVP, Finals MVP, scoring champion, first team all defense, first team all-team NBA shooting guard. So, I mean, he's still at the top of his game. So, in my opinion, don't break it up until you lose. I'm not leaving the court until I lose. I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care what. I'm not getting off the court until I lose.
Yeah. I mean, you let the GOAT go out the way he wants to go out, right? Like that's how I look at it is, we have the value of hindsight right now, and we can look back and say, like, he wasn't the same player after he went to the Wizards, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. At the time, you let the GOAT go out the way he wants to go out. So I think it was a disrespectful way to finish out that dynasty. But, I mean, I guess that that's the only takeaway we get from it is you're right, Kate. We were the greatest and it ended, and that's just how it ended. But I think there was a better way to go about it.
We can what if our way through it, they can't be like, well, they ended up washed up or anything like that. We're like, nope, you don't know what had happened.
That's true.
But I do think that is when Chicago stopped respecting Jerry Reinsdorf as much. And then, the White Sox had a really good run, so he kind of got a little bit more favor with us at that point. And then I think last year, I think that's the reason that Garpax is gone, is because it just got to the point where both of those franchises were not getting the money they needed to be able to get the players and the staffing and whatever else that they needed to be winning. And like you just said, third largest market. How are you not gonna put in some money to get winning franchises? And so I think he was getting hurt in the wallet. I think that ticket sales were not what they could be. And I mean, I go to the United Center and it's the best basketball arena to me ever. I mean, I've been to playoff games that LeBron was playing in at other locations and been to preseason in the United Center. And the preseason game in the United Center had a better atmosphere, better energy, And so it's like you want to see teams winning in that situation. And so it was hard as a Chicago fan to watch us go so far out of bounds. I mean, Zach LaVine's on the court cussing out Jim Boylan. The players don't respect him, and Lauri Markkanen is a good player, and I think like no one's even hardly talking about him because he just got there was no ability to grow him and put him in positions where he's gonna excel. And when you got a guy, I mean, he's huge.
But I think that's a good point, though. I think that's a really good point about Jerry just kind of coasting for a while, because it's the United Center. People would go to games there anyway. People go to preseason games there, even though the team was bad. And he kind of coasted along on that for a long time. But I think the timing was the timing felt a little too perfect, right? They fire Garpax, or they reassign Paxson and fire Gar Forman a few weeks before The Last Dance starts airing, and then hire Arturas. Like the timing that lines up, right? Because like if Garpax were still in charge and Boylan was the head coach of the future while we were watching The Last Dance, I think everyone would have lost their minds. I think he gained a little bit of favor. Like everyone was like, okay, you suck, but like you did fire Garpax, so we can't be too mad at you right now.
That's true. There would have been riots. Even if it was COVID, people were like, this guy's got to go. Is there any way we can buy him out of these franchises? We are long-suffering Chicago fans. We can't do it anymore. He's been letting Benny the Bull sell his tickets.
At least we're not Knicks fans. I'll say that. Could be worse.
Man, yeah.
I don't even, if you're a Knicks fan at this point, hop off there's nothing to be gained over there. There's no honor in it. Just staying on. That gives me, that's how I feel as a Bulls player. I'm like, Bulls. I'm not a Bulls player. I'm a Bulls fan. But I mean, I'll lace up if they need me. But as a Bulls fan, I'm like, you know what? At the very least, no one can say I bandwagoned. We've been here. We're sticking by our guys.
Yep.
We're watching every game. It's painful. We're some of us are in therapy now, getting pharmaceutical help to deal with our fandom. But
yeah, the Bulls owe us like at least like a bottle of whiskey each, right? Because like I've gone through so many bottles of whiskey watching that team. They owe me at least one bottle back, right?
So then the other thing that I think it's historically relevant to talk about is The Last Dance. So it is mid-COVID. I'm freezing cold. It's March. There's nothing going on. We are all stuck in our houses. You can't go out for dinner. I didn't even realize that. I'm like, I don't feel like I even did stuff. I didn't think that I did anything. And apparently I was some sort of socialite and didn't realize it, because it did hit me. I was like, oh my God, I am in my house all day, every day. It's like, I can't even plan to go do something with friends, family, whatever, because what if I infect them or something like that? And then The Last Dance happened, and me and Mike are like, we let, whatever, we pulled out our Trulies and we're just watching, hanging out on the couch. Is great. Daniel, how did you feel about when Last Dance came out? What emotions did you go through watching that documentary?
Man, it was because it just brought back so many memories of what was going on in my life at that time. you know, the in Chicago Bulls basketball we had, you know, just the fun, just, you know, Chicago Bulls, everybody wanted to be at that time, right? I mean, you had Bulls fans across were just tagging along. And true enough, we, you know, from the beginning, because I grew up in Chicago, raised there, but when we go to the, you know, Chicago State United Center, you know, and things like that, how loud that playoff stadium used to be crazy. So, yeah, it was cutting out mine. So, you know that's what it was. I enjoyed watching it. It was something that was fun. Just reminiscing about the situation, being able to relive it again.
You know, so I was watching it, and I was born in 1992, and I think Ross, I think you're a year or two younger than I am, right?
Yeah, I'm 96, so I learned a lot.
You learned it. See, I was in like kindergarten, and I remember people were like, my brothers were like, who do you have a crush on? And I was like, Michael Jordan. And so, you know, I was watching that, but then Mike is watching it with me, and he's got a few years on me, so he was, you know, I think like he's like a teenager during all this time, so he's watching it. He's like, Scotty's a bitch. I forgot what his bitch Scottie Pippen is. And he, you know, is such a baby about his money. And you know, he was going to get paid either way. And so I think just, you know, when that came out, like Ross, you know, you pointed out, it was really good. It was interesting timing. And then, you know, I'm looking at Jay Reinsdorf. I'm just pissed. And I'm like, you suck. And looking at Scottie Pippen, I'm like, you're a bitch. But at the same time, I'm so happy. I'm watching the best era of Chicago Bulls basketball. The reason we're all still here and we're all still long-suffering Bulls fans. And, you know, I just think The Last Dance, they did such a good job. And it was so cool to see, you know, just everything, just the whole, you know, start to finish. And they kind of did it in an interesting way where they were splicing it from, you know, early on in Jordan's career and then also throwing in like the Last Dance scenes. Yeah. And, you know, it was just that juxtaposition of seeing where he started and where he got to. Like, he's truly the greatest of all time. No one on here is going to make an argument that LeBron James is the greatest. There are people out there who will. They're too young. I don't know what it is, but Jordan is the greatest. I mean, he is that mom. Like, he's got that mentality. Like Kobe definitely had the same mentality, and you know, LeBron though it's not the same. It's not the mentality. It's not a mentality issue for him. It's just, I'm just saying, like, in terms of what the career is and how it played out, Jordan's the greatest.
It's the highest peak versus the most longevity, right? Like, I think Jordan's peak was higher than any other basketball player ever. And here, you know, here's a 24-year-old dude saying that. So feel free to argue with me. As I think Jordan had the highest peak, but LeBron did what he's done. It's not like it's over with for longer. Obviously, he's a great player. I'm not going to take that away from him. But Michael Jordan,
he don't even look tired.
Yeah, it's true. He doesn't look his age. His hairline kind of does. But Michael Jordan's the greatest, man. It's just a different vibe. It's a whole different energy. It's a whole different mentality. Like, and this is something I was talking with my father-in-law about, who's actually he's played golf with Michael Jordan. Like, he met Michael Jordan. He caddied for him. Like, Deerfield, Illinois. This dude goes back. And his take on it was basically like, it wouldn't have been so great if it wasn't so dramatic. You know, like, Michael Jordan was just the king of drama and intrigue. And I think with LeBron, I don't know, it's more theatric than it is dramatic. You know what I mean? It's the complaining to the refs. It's all the finals losses. It's, you know, calling himself the greatest, things like that. It's just more theatric, where Jordan he showed up on game day. He let his play do the talking. So that's my take on it, but I'm 24 years old, so say what you want.
Dan, do you have a more veteran take than that?
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I think when it comes to LeBron against Jordan, you know, until something actually on Twitter, and until somebody gets robbed for their LeBron, period. That's all. I agree. So,
yeah, and you know,
comparison, it really isn't.
Ross, with what you were saying about, you know, LeBron does this, but like, you're right. And there are times when he's doing that and flapping around and whatever. I'm like, why? You don't need to, like, you are LeBron James. You realize that you don't need to go out and, you know, I'm kind of thinking maybe he's trying almost to embody that drama that Jordan brought to the game, but he's doing it kind of in more of like a little bitch way. And Jordan just, you know, he owned the game. And LeBron totally does too. I mean, he's not the level of some of the guys that you see, but I think he is probably just trying to imitate greatness, you know, and just bring that element that Jordan had. It just doesn't come off quite the same. And obviously you can't, because Jordan's the greatest. And if you're going to try to be the GOAT, you just can't hit it. Jordan, no one can hit that level. Like, we've never seen it since. So that's obviously, we're all agreed on that. Jordan's the best ever. And, you know, so someone from Brawl did an article. They started us at the Jordan era, and then the blow up of the franchise. And then, you know, we got the Baby Bulls, we got Joakim Noah, we had the Wild Dang, Jimmy Butler, we had, what's his name with the big arm tattoo, Miller. I don't know.
Brad Miller?
Yeah, Brad Miller. I mean, he wasn't like,
yeah.
he's not like your Baby Bull, but, you know, they're just that same era. And then we got Derrick Rose, and then it's like, we're expecting greatness to come back to Chicago. Derrick gets hurt, and we're still trying. We're still, you know, out there. And then we kind of lost gradually, bit by bit, all those pieces. And then we landed in eventually the Boylen era. So, you know, we're kind of looking to be Phoenix rising from the ashes now. It's exciting. And today we got to see our scrimmage, our first one, with our new coaching staff, our new general manager. We're seeing what's going to happen with this with this draft pick next month. And it's an exciting time to be a Bulls fan. I think that we're all looking for big things to happen. It's hard to be long-suffering Chicago fans for so long, but I think we're on the right track, and I think that I think we're all agreed on that. So, anyways, the last one, we'll just do a speed round real quick right here. What is the number one thing you want to see happen with this roster? It can be with the draft. It can be with in terms of trying to land someone free agent. The number one thing you want to see, I'll go first. Mine is I want to see LaMelo Ball on the Chicago Bulls.
Oh,
Ross.
Let's bring Derrick home. Let's bring the boy back home because he needs to be on this roster when we win the title. So bring Derrick home. That's my take.
Dan, what do you want to see happen? What's your number one?
That's a good one. I like that. I like that one. Number one move. I'm with you, Kate. I want to. If we can't get him, I'll take Killian Hayes.
Yeah, I like Killian Hayes too.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens, and we will come back at you next week. I don't know if I'll be here, but Ross definitely will. He's leading the Arturas Karnisovas Fan Club. He's leading the Arturas Karnisovas Army. We are riding with these Chicago Bulls. Until next time, Bulls fans, like us wherever you subscribe to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. I am at Great the Kate. He is at Arturas Fan Club, and Dan is at Dan Goodwin III. Go ahead and subscribe and give us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you. See you next time.